Seismic 7, Chapter 11, Part 2. I glance over my shoulder at the camp where everything is still silent. Fiddling with the sensors on my tool belt, I wish I had something that could be useful, like giant pillows for our feet, but I suppose that still wouldn't solve the weight issue on the stairs. Raquel sends Eddie up first. He carefully ascends one step at a time, and I am relieved that Raquel's idea was a good one. The stairs creak far less with only one person. After Eddie's up, Raquel gestures for Wyatt. Todd had stepped forward as though to volunteer to go next, but he follows Raquel's direction and stays back until Wyatt's up at the top. After Todd, Raquel waves me over. I steal the swinging tools on my belt so none of them hit the metal railing and begin climbing. The first stair creaks immediately. Bree, I chastise myself. My face flushes and my ears strain to hear if Dr. Greer or anyone noticed. The camp remains quiet. I take the next step even more gingerly. It doesn't creak. I try not to exhale with too much physical motion, even though I want to collapse forward in relief. I climb the steps slowly, taking the longest out of everyone. When I reach the top, I step off onto the rocks near the mouth of the cave and shiver. The night breeze whips around up here, and I wish I'd brought my sleeping bag as a blanket. Ugh, supplies. Kinsey comes up behind me, light-footed like a rabbit. Raquel is last. She doesn't even know us and made sure we got up first. I want to thank her, but I'm also too afraid to talk too much while we're still in the cave. When Raquel reaches the top, she stares at us. What are you all standing around for? She asks, still using a whisper. Go! Let's get out! We were waiting for you, Eddie says. Don't be stupid, Raquel replies, steering him urgently forward by his shoulders and reinforcing my earlier idea that the two of them see each other as siblings. Move! We all immediately do as she says. The cave entrance isn't far, and we reach it within minutes. When we exit into the dark of the night, I realize we are about to run into untamed wilderness with nothing but starlight and headlamps. When Aunt Pauline and I were filming in Yellowstone, we always made sure to be packed up by nightfall and to tuck our food and equipment safely away from where we camped, to keep bears and mountain lions from visiting. Maybe it's a good thing we didn't stop to grab food. We book it down the side of the hill, following the path as best we can in the dark. To be extra safe, no one turns their headlamps on just yet, and I'm relieved that we're each smart enough to have come to that conclusion on our own. We need to get far away from here before we can risk lighting ourselves up as targets. And we also need to stay together in case there is any dangerous wildlife around. The wind bites into my face as we continue down the massive hillside. I accidentally kick a few more rocks, but I think a little bit of noise is okay now, as long as I don't crash a whole bucket load down the cliff or something. Now that we're out, my mind starts to process the implications of everything. If it's true that we've been doing all this work to trigger the supervolcano, not stop it, then I can feel my chest tighten. Have we really been fooled that badly? I can almost see Dr. Greer being a criminal mastermind bent on the death of millions, but I don't want to believe bocce ball playing, chocolate gifting Miss McNamara could ever knowingly participate in such an evil plot. What could possibly be their motivation? Why have us create ways to reduce the pressure in tiny intervals if they actually wanted to set off the whole volcano? Thought hits me like a blast of the cold night air. Once again, I find myself about to throw up. If Dr. Greer blows all of our beta tunnels at once, instead of one by one, that won't be anything like letting a little pressure out of a bottle of soda. That will be like stabbing into the side of the bottle with a knife. The cave, all of camp, would be flooded with lava, and that will be just the beginning. This way, Eddie says, when we reach the bottom of the hill. He points right. There isn't a single part of me that isn't trembling. We have been fooled. Our work can totally cause a supervolcanic eruption. No, this way, Todd says, pointing to the deer trail path that we took a walk on the other day with Miss McNamara. We know where this one goes. That means they do too, Raquel says. It's dark, Todd retorts. I'm not wandering off in some unknown direction. We could get lost or fall off a mountain or slip down a waterfall. We need to find people, I say, jumping into the conversation. Where is that road we drove in on? We can follow that back to the main roads and find someone to help us. I'm with Bree on this one, Wyatt says. I'm with Eddie, Kinsey says. I turn to her, trying not to let her words sting. We have to get away first, hide. Then we can come up with a plan for finding people. Is no one with me? Todd asks. Group vote, Raquel says. Todd's trail? Only Todd raises his hand. Find the road Bree's talking about? Me and Wyatt. Get the heck out of here into the dark? Raquel, Eddie, and Kinsey's hands all shoot up. Okay, dark it is. Let's go. Raquel waves for us to follow. Wait, Wyatt says. This doesn't seem fair. But Eddie's already walking, and Kinsey falls into step with him. I don't want to get left behind, so I go after them. Wyatt and Todd follow me, both grumbling, and Raquel takes up the rear. I keep my eyes peeled as we walk through the woods, crunching through leaves and over fallen logs. I trip more than once in the dark. Somewhere I can hear an owl calling, but so far, that's the only sound of wildlife. Still, though, the hairs on the back of my neck prickle. There's not even a moon out tonight to help guide us. We could walk straight into a mountain lion and have no warning. I don't like this at all. Guys, we need to stay super close together, I advise. Like, huddled up so we look like a big scary animal. You think so? Kinsey asks. Definitely, I say. I rest my hand on the small drill in my tool belt, thinking how I could use it as a weapon if I had to. If a bear sees just one of us, we look like an easy meal. But altogether, we might weigh about as much as a bear. Oh, come on, they can't be that big, Eddie says. Have you ever seen one? I ask him. He doesn't reply. Male grizzly bears can be over 600 pounds, I recite from last year's documentary with Aunt Pauline. Females can weigh less, but they usually have cubs, which makes them dangerous in their own way. A baby bear would be so cute, Kinsey says. Not if its mom is eating your face, I retort. Let's do as Bree says, Raquel decides from the back of our line. A small surge of pride courses through me. Since I'm pretty sure Raquel's a couple years older than I am, it's a nice feeling to have her agree with me. Huddle up. We all squeeze closer together and continue to walk through the woods as a pack, only to break apart when we have to pick our way through some tough branches or narrow rocky passages. I'm surprised I'm as awake as I am. I can't remember a time in my life when I've ever been up at this hour doing actual physical stuff like hiking. Adrenaline's a powerful thing, I remember my dad saying years ago, as he was telling me about an 18-hour shift he had to pull at the hospital when one of his patients was going into repeated cardiac arrest. But just as I'm thinking about how I'm not tired, I realize how tired I actually am. I need to sit down. I don't want to unless we're safe, though, which I have no idea how we're going to be out here. Should we rest at some point? I ask Raquel. Raquel thinks this over. Let's go a bit farther. When we do stop, we should have someone keep watch. Anyone want to volunteer? I'll do it, Wyatt says. Raquel nods. Okay, wake someone up if you feel like you're falling asleep, though. I won't fall asleep, he replies. There's a haunted look in his eyes, and I completely understand what he means. We go back to walking in silence for another stretch of time. Could have been half an hour, or 2 hours. I honestly can't tell. But then Raquel directs us to stop under a large pine tree. Let's rest here, she says. We'll be hidden under the branches. She's probably right, I notice. The branches bow down, making a tent-like structure encircling the trunk. I crawl under them, lean against the bark, and will my heart to slow down. Raquel? Todd asked. Yeah, she answers, settling in next to him. You and Eddie never thought you were helping. Ever? You've been prisoners this entire time? Forced to work? She doesn't answer right away. Yes, is her eventual response. Oh my goodness, Kinsey says. For 6 months? You poor people. No, Raquel says firmly. We were the lucky ones. We go silent, and I try to figure out what she could mean by that. None of the ideas I have sound good, but then my body, perhaps noticing we're secluded and possibly safe, shuts down and sends me into an uneasy sleep.